Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my sky. I start at the top because it's easier to paint away from wet areas. If you start at the top and work to the bottom, you do top, middle, bottom. And you go large areas to smaller areas so you can put in the details, okay? This is my clean water. I'm going to make sure my brush has no paint in it from a previous painting. And I'm actually going to make a pool of water here on my palette. And I'm going to pick up the cobalt blue. Okay, so there's cobalt blue. That's a nice shade. I'm using an old brush to mix colors so that I don't wreck the points of my new brush. All right, I'm going to show you how to make nice white fluffy clouds using a Kleenex tissue. But it's got to be a Kleenex tissue. It cannot be a piece of paper towel, because the paper towel has a pattern in it, and by gosh, the pattern's going to show. All right. The skyline always gets, I always forget this, lighter at the horizon. It's deeper up above. So when you're putting in your skies, make sure that your paintbrush is fully charged so you can get good strong color at the top, and then it goes off at the bottom. I always use my 1.5 inch. I love this brush. It's a wonderful brush. And I'm just going to put my sky in like this. And this is wet on dry. Okay. And I'm just going around where my trees are. And that is my sky. All right, now I take my Kleenex and just crumple it up a little bit and lift up some clouds. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave these clouds for a minute. Actually, no, I'm taking a round brush now, and I'm going to put in a little bit of gray at the bottom of these. Now, how do you get gray if you don't have gray? Well, in this case, I'm going to mix blue, red, and green together, and I'm going to try to get a mixture so that it turns into a neutral. It's tricky. You have to just keep working it. So that's kind of a purplish gray. Okay? When you have your value sketch, that's pretty gray. All right. So now all I'm going to do, I just want to put a little tiny bit of gray at the bottom. You have to work fast. Okay? Okay. Clean water on a brush, and then you just lift up you want to move that gray around. Okay? Clouds actually have shadows at the bottom of them. So what this does is it kind of anchors them. Okay? And if you don't like the shape, you keep lifting up and soften it. Okay? And you can use your tissue again, and you can go in and you can soften the very edges. Okay? Only use tissue, however, Kleenex tissue, or any kind of tissue. Okay. So that kind of gives the clouds a base, which is good. You wanna make sure that they look realistic. Okay. Now, because I have put in sort of hills in the background, I'm going to mix kind of a blue, purplish actually, because hills tend to be a little more purple, okay, in the background. And then they turn more blue as they come forward, and then they turn more green. All right, so here is my hill, and I'm just going to bring it down to where my line of trees starts in the middle ground. All right, there's my line of trees. Okay, I want to make sure I get the other side with my hill. And a little bit of hill here seen. Okay. Now I'm going to put in my trees. And I'm going to mix, this is Windsor Green Blue shade with some New Gamboge. And I'm going to get a green. And I like the fact that it's on a kind of a yellow-green shade. And I'm just going to put that into my trees. And I don't care if it blends into the purple of the mountains or anything. This is all good. I want to get that in a couple of places. Now, not all the trees are going to be the same color. So you don't want to have that error where all the trees are the same color. So I'm going to show you how I start to mix in other shades here. But I want to get sort of a green-yellow base in first. Okay, and I want it to go for this beautiful tree in the foreground here. Okay, now I'm going to mix a little bit more of the blue in here so I get a deeper green, and I'm going to start putting it in several places. And this is wet and wet, okay, because I've already got some wet green, light green paint on the painting already. All right, so this is the first layer, and this is what I call color blocking. Okay, now I want to warm this up a little, so I'm going to put a little red in with that green. And it's going to turn it more to an olive shade. Okay. And I want a little bit more yellow. Well, that looks like a very neutral sort of olive, doesn't it? Let's see. Ooh, that's a lot of green. Okay. There we go. That's better. And I'm going to go back and put a little bit more of the red in there to give me the olive. And this is where, now that I think of it, this is where if you paint on an angle, that it really helps, because your paint runs downhill. And you will have the darker shades at the bottom of your vegetation, which is the way it should be. It is the way nature is. If you look at trees, most of the trees are darkest at their base because the sunlight can't get to them there. All right, so I'm just adding some of this darker green And you want to do it while it's still wet, okay, so that you get a nice blending of colors. Also, you want to think about where your sunlight is coming from. In this case, it's coming from the right. So I want to keep that in mind at all times. Now I want to mix a deeper shade. And I'm going to use my Prussian blue and alizarin crimson. And I'm going to go back to this Windsor green and see if I can't pull some of that. All right, and let's get some yellow going. Now I want a little bit of red in some of the trees. So it goes more olive. All right, so I'm going to make these guys a little bit more of that olive shade because they look to me to be sort of some sort of a pine tree, but I don't want all the trees to be the same. That's boring. So we're gonna just add a little different shades around here so that you get that little bit more of the red in various spots of the trees. And this again is called color weaving. Color weaving is very important because it unifies your painting. You have the same colors in various areas, which is good, which is a good thing. All right, now I'm going to do a little bit of more just plain yellowish. I'm going to make these trees a little more yellow. So we have some visual interest there. Okay, now you'll notice this is still the first layer. All right, now we have a large expanse of meadow here. So I want to put that in sort of a light yellow right now, but I will go back in with other colors. But I want the life of the yellow to show through. And I want to put that in a fairly broad brush and quickly. Okay, and that comes right down here to this hill. Okay, so there's a little bit of a hill here like this. And you'll notice that I'm just keeping this very, very loose at this point. Very loose. All right, now I want to get some green in. Okay, so let's take some of this green and put that in. Almost seems a little too green to me. So I'm going to probably put a little red with it because that cuts the green. It makes it, how shall I say it? It neutralizes it, makes it a little duller so that you have a more neutral and less like crayons out of a box. Let me put it that way. Okay, so I just want to get this large expanse of of a meadow in here. Okay. All right. Now we have an area in the very front which is pretty green, pretty normal, regular green. So let's put that in. And that's also going to be the area where we will have shadow. And believe it or not, shadow is not black. It's not transparent. No, it's not opaque. It's transparent. So shadow is the color. It shows through the color of what's underneath it. All right. So if I have a shadow on a green lawn, the color of the shadow is the opposite of the sun, so it's a violet color. All right, so I'm going to mix a violet, and this is kind of sacrilegious for me to be putting this in this early, but I'm going to just do it, and we're just going to have, because I want to make this very, very loose. So there's a bit of a shadow that's going over. Now the only thing I haven't painted in here yet so far are the weeds in this area, but I've left a space for them. So the weeds, I want them to be kind of a, I'm going to say an olive green color. So let's add a little yellow to that. Hard to tell that that's olive green, so let's see it over here. Yeah, it's pretty olive green. All right, so then I see some pink at the top too, so I'm just going to put in some of my vegetation that goes like this. Okay. Now I'm going to have to paint the fence over this. So you'll notice that my first layer is pretty much done, and it is pretty light, believe it or not. It looks dark against the white paper, but it's pretty pastel actually when you think about it. Okay, I am going to put those little pink, I'm just going to do a little hint of them. Oh yeah, that's a hint. Huh. Okay, I'll water it down. And that's the same color that I'm going to use in that house in the background. Okay, so that again, it starts to tie in. All right, so let's put the house in. Okay. we'll go back to that in a little while, but all right. So there we have our first layer, which I call color blocking. And now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to put a little more detail in. There's a little blossom from being too wet. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go back in with that violet purple that I mixed for the hills. And I'm just going to put in a little bit of variation. And that's a little too stark and too dark, but I'm going to soften it with clean water on a brush. I'm using a 16 round because I don't need real small details at this point. All I need are to cover big areas.